Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today I'm going to be talking to you all about my own experiences with Labo VR, because yes, I've only gone and bloomin' used it. I'm going to be talking all about my expectations, how it actually works, whether it's any good, and obviously talk quite explicitly about it. Whatever, we're just going to be talking about it. I thought I had a plan in my head, and I sort of vaguely do, but let's just dive in. It'll be fine. Maybe. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Okay, so, well, Labo VR, eh? That's a thing. And I must admit, when it was first revealed, I looked at it and I thought, okay, it didn't really grab me at all, and, you know, I did a video talking about it, and I was a bit apprehensive and a little bit like, well, you know, is it actually going to be any good? You know, I had a lot of reservations about things like the 720p screen of the Switch and the only 60Hz refresh rate and all that gubbins, you know, all the technical nonsense, and whether it would actually be a worthwhile experience, worth playing. And then, you know, when I got the call saying, Alex, come down and play it from Nintendo UK, I was like, okay, yeah, why not? There'll be a video in it. What was quite nice was I actually went down with a colleague as well, and he did a bulk of it. He was there as the actual tester. I was there as Filmy Man, as you can probably tell from the fact that I'm in very few of the shots you're gonna see. So we watched a trailer, and it's the trailer that's gonna be spliced in here, that you're gonna see, you know, bits and bobs. Hopefully it'll be in English. When we watched it, it was only in Japanese, and it looked vaguely interesting, and there was a bit at the end, which I'm gonna be talking about later on, that really piqued my interest. But let's talk about the actual building and stuff like that first. So we were building it, and it was pretty much just like any other Labo, to be honest. You know, it was folding and bending and slipping things into slots and everything. It worked just as well as the other Labo kits, and that indeed is no bad thing. Labo is a very well-rounded product, and the actual construction went without a hitch. It was super duper. Not that I did much of it. And then it was all assembled, and my colleague was, you know, sort of, he put it all together and everything. We found out there's various cool little bits and bobs that I'll explain more in a minute. But, you know, he slipped it in and he looked around for a bit, and I was like, okay, yeah, this looks, you know, fine. I was more concentrating on the filming than anything else, to be honest. And then another chap had a go with it. And then I said, do you mind if I have a go? And they were like, yeah, sure. So I put it on, and well, it was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as responsive as it was, you know. Generally, when we've seen things like Splatoon 2 and, you know, gyro aiming and stuff like that, there's always been a little bit of an issue with the gyro and stuff like that. Generally, it's pretty damn good, but, you know, there's a bit of a delay because, you know, it's got to send the signal to the Switch and all that, and even then, you know, sometimes it drifts and it has to sort of realign itself. It's not 100% perfect, but it's fine, you know. But then, using the VR thing, holy biscuits, it was pretty much one-to-one, like properly. You put it on and you hold it up to your face and everything, and you're looking around, and it's like immediate. There's no sort of slight delay or anything like that. It's really bloody responsive, and it really surprised me. And I was like looking around, and it was just like looking around sort of like a 3D space, and there was stuff you could loosely interact with, and you could drive a car around and stuff like that. And it was okay. I was pleasantly surprised. The whole 720p screen thing didn't seem to be as much of an issue. Yeah, it was, you know, not ultra crisp. It wasn't ultra HD or anything like that. It was a little bit soft and pixelated, but you know what? It was okay, you know, it was fine, a lot better than I feared it would be. And then we slipped it into the blaster, and the blaster is the one that we used mainly. We didn't really get a chance to use any of the others, sadly. It was mainly the blaster, and that's the one that comes with the lowest tier kit that's like 35 quid or something. You just get the blaster and the VR gubbins and everything like that. Slip it all in, and it all works. The blaster's got a really cool feature, actually. You've got a cock, you know, like a real gun, although the trigger's on the back, which is interesting. The trigger's sort of like a thumb thing on the back, which I can only assume is to try and disassociate it from real firearms, which is supremely Nintendo. But anyway, you cock it back, you sort of, you know, like a pump action shotgun, you cock it, and that actually, you know, sort of loads the weapon or primes it, cocks it, whatever, you know, actually in-game and everything. Really responsive like that. And then you, I was about to say pull the trigger, but you more sort of push the trigger, and it actually has like elastic bands and everything, and it causes a recoil effect. In fact, I've got a clip of it with the audio and everything. Although I haven't checked it, so it might not be very good. Make it loud.
Well, It's cardboard, I can't make it any level.
It's a subtle little thing, but it really helps with the quote-unquote immersion. It really makes you feel like you are actually holding a weapon, and it's that sort of tactile feedback that is really, really responsive and really just nice. And when you're using the headset and everything, you can actually navigate around the menus in really clever ways. Like you double tap on the right-hand side, of the top right-hand side of the Switch, you know, as it's in. You've got like a little, like a little indicator at the top. You double tap up there, and it usually brings up a menu, or it helps you navigate in some way. It's a way to interact without having to have the Joy-Con attached, which is really handy. And it just uses the gyro sensor, I believe, or accelerometer, whatever. And just by doing that, it actually reads it, and it reads it really well, actually. It feels very responsive, far more responsive than it sort of feels like it should be. It's sort of on paper, or just from describing it, sounds like it would be like tap tap, no, tap tap, no, tap tap. But no, it was genuinely really responsive, really surprising, and didn't trigger accidentally. It was really good. There's also a lovely little thing. Unfortunately, I don't think I got any footage of it because we were quite limited on what we could show you. But when you're actually in a game and you sort of, you know, you take the headset off to do something, or you want to go retry or exit, rather than doing the double tap and keeping it on there, if it's more comfortable, you can just take it off. And where your nose would be in the little nose holder, there's actually a restart and an exit button right there. So you can just take it off and go boop. It's a really nice quality of life feature. But that's enough about the Labo itself. What about the software? Because the cardboard, yeah, it's great, whatever. But what about the software itself? Well, I touched on briefly something previously about, you know, like driving a car around and stuff like that, but the main thing that we played was using the blaster, as I said, and we played 2 different games. One of them was a pretty typical on-rails shooter using VR gubbins, and you sort of hold it using like you hold it like this, where you'll be able to see it now, and you sort of move around, and you move as though you were in 3D space. You're on rails, of course, so you're not moving around, but you are aiming, and you've got to shoot all these little creatures. And I'm not the biggest fan of on-rails shooters, but I've got to admit, this was really bloody good fun. I'm not entirely sure how much longevity a game like that can have, but, you know, sort of, it was a really accomplished little game. It had some real thought that went into it, and it was really, really good fun to play. Again, you know, longevity could be an issue like it is with a lot of Labo stuff, but I would say of all the Labo stuff that I've played, that was definitely the most involved I've been, and the most captivated, because it really did feel like I was in that little world, although at the same time it didn't. I didn't feel like I was stood in that world. I felt like I was sort of peering through, almost like peering through sort of like, for lack of a better term, like a magic window into this world, and I was interacting with it in that sense. It never felt like I myself, Alex Olney, was in there, but it felt like that I was definitely controlling that world and viewing it as though there was, well, goggles on my eyes. But the tracking and everything, it was genuinely immersive, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I was stuck in the game. It was quite a different VR experience to ones I've had in the past. And I think part of that is because you're sort of holding it to your face, and you're constantly aware that you're doing that. And, you know, you could argue that that removes immersion and things like that, and you're never going to be able to do something like play Skyrim VR using that sort of system, but I do think having that sort of slight level of detachment is actually in its favor. I was playing the game constantly aware that I was playing a game and that I wasn't actually part of this world, and I wasn't going to like reach out, as you've seen no doubt that so many people do, reach out and lean on something that isn't there because the immersion's so great. But at the same time, it's sort of, you know, I was playing around and then suddenly, you know, I needed to look down or something, or just wanted to talk to my colleague, and I was just like, you know what, this is really cool, and just go in and out that quickly. And VR stuff, before you know, you strap it in, you sit down, you slap it in and everything, you've maybe got wires coming out the back and everything like that. None of that. It was just boom, done, boom, done, boom, done. You got the idea? And there was a 3D effect, which was all pretty, you know, pretty standard. It was nice to be there. Oh, actually, that's an important thing. No one had any difficulty focusing on the screen at all, which was really bizarre. Like, the lenses aren't adjustable at all, they are fixed, and yet you just put them up and it was just clear to see what was going on. I'm guessing they're using a very simple lens, and you can actually use it with glasses, pretty big glasses as well. We had no issues with anyone there using glasses, just go over the top, and it's just fine, and I'm guessing maybe it's just running on the idea of a 20/20 vision, and it's just changing it so that you can focus on something closer up, which is sensible. The other game I played was a hippo sort of shooting game, still with the blaster, and you have to like feed hippos fruit. And it's adorably charming and endearing, and yet it's actually quite a weirdly sort of deep game. It's a competitive game. You play with someone else, and you sort of sit there and you've got your own sort of little zone, and you've got to try and tempt hippos towards you by feeding them fruit. And you look up and you suck up a bit of fruit, fire it at them, and they go, wow, that was tasty, and come running towards you, well, swimming towards you. Although hippos don't swim, do they? They walk on the bottom of the, Am I wrong about that? But they swim towards you, and if they come within your area, you gain points. There's like one hippo that's worth more points, or maybe there's multiple, I don't know, but you know, there was one in the time that I played it, and that was worth like 3 points, and every other hippo's worth 1. Sensible. Different fruit do different things, and yeah, and the other person is trying to do exactly the same thing, but they've got their own zone, and you know, it's fairly straightforward. But then there was a load of like little depths in there, loads of little things that helped to sort of make the game much more substantial. I'm not saying it's going to be the new Rocket League by any means, but you know, you can do things like there's a palm tree in the middle, and if you shoot that, you can shake fruit off the trees and land, you know, the fruit in multiple hippos' mouths, and then get multiple to come towards you. You can shoot at a hippo that's got another hippo in a beeline to you, and slightly nudge them into your zone as well. I probably don't have footage of that because we didn't get any footage there, but I managed to do it, and I was chuffing proud of myself. And you can also nick hippos from the other person's side, and you can, you know, determine which kind of fruit you're going to use when and stuff like that. It gets weirdly deep and weirdly complex, and I completely thrashed my colleague on both occasions. But if I don't talk about this next bit, I'm gonna bloody burst because I really want to talk about it. This is the biggest thing with Labo, and honestly, I feel like I need to put something at the start that says, oh my god, this big... Well, you probably already know, because this video will be going out after the trailer, because we need the trailer for the footage. VR Garage. Now, if you don't remember, Labo had a garage function where you could create your own Toy-Con, your own sort of like physical things, and you could have interactions and stuff like that, and you could make your own toys, essentially. And, you know, it has a lot of potential. It's a lot of fun, you know, it's good, but it's sort of, the potential sort of wanes after quite a bit. Yes, you can create these elaborate, big sort of toys, and you can, like, you know, create coin counters and things like that. Great. But then what do you do with them? They are just toys, they're novelties and things like that. But with VR Garage, oh lord, it's a bit of a misnomer because it's not just VR, but you make your own games. Like all in, you don't need any cardboard or anything, you can just create your own games. Doesn't have to be VR, you can just create games on Labo using just Joy-Con and stuff like that. Sure. Outside of the main games that you see in the trailer, these ones, there are an additional 64 other games that they include that have been created in VR Garage. Anything you see in any of these games, you can do yourself. It's all done within the software, which is so exciting. And they've got so many different things that you do. I mean, they had a first-person shooter. You can just create a first-person shooter. Again, it doesn't have to be VR, but it can be if you want. They've created like a little tabletop football game where each person holds a different end of the Switch, you know, and uses the Joy-Con like their Joy-Con on their side, and, you know, just sort of, it was, in fact, I'm pretty sure it's actually a reference to the Wii U reveal, where they had something pretty much that with the Wii U gamepad. You know, it was like a two-player football game at each end, and you can create that. I'm sure someone's going to create like an RPG or something, because you can have text appear. You can have things that... There was like a Smash Bros clone. It was very basic, but you had a jump, an attack, a spin button. I didn't know what it did. And, you know, sort of knocks off, it counts your score, and all these sort of things. It's just... It's terrifyingly baffling just how much you'll be able to do with this thing. and how open it is. And you can change the camera. It's, oh! And it can be VR as well. You can create ridiculous VR experiences. And using the other Toy-Con, like, which I haven't even touched on, like the wing pedal and everything, which has actually been designed to add weight. That great big thing on the thing is designed to add weight and actually blow air in your face so that when you're interacting with it, it feels like you're flying through the air or that you're getting friction from the air through something. And it's absolutely mental. And there's the elephant thing with like the drawing thing, so you could essentially create like a like those VR games that I've seen, you know, where you've got like what was it, like Job Simulator, where you're going around, you're doing things. You can do that. It's going to be in a much simpler form, but this is with a £35 kit. Yes, you need the Switch, but you know, with any other VR experience, pretty much, except like phone-based stuff, you need a computer or, you know, sort of, or a PlayStation. You need that in order to do VR as well as the headset. You need it. And with Switch, the headset part, you know, you buy the console for 300 quid or whatever, or 250 quid, whatever it is. And then with the headset, that's just £35. It's so accessible. I mean, it's not gonna blow your mind or anything. The games are fun and they're very entertaining, but there's nothing there that's gonna grab your attention for, you know, sort of 30 hours or something like that, unless you're really dedicated. Or at least maybe there is. I haven't played all the games, but from what I've played, they're not out of this world, you know, ridiculous, you know, really in-depth experiences, but they are great fun and they're really engaging. And I haven't even mentioned there's even like a child-friendly mode for children because, you know, it's a VR system, and because it's not strapped to your head, they actually managed to get the age rating down to 7+. But you can take it even lower than that by just using a holder, and it just holds the Switch and doesn't do VR or anything like that, but the child can just hold it there and look at the screen. They're not holding it up to their face, they're just looking at it and going, wow, look at this fun. Or if you've got, you know, sort of monocular vision for whatever reason, you can do that. They've thought of nearly everything. It's bonkers, and this has no structure anymore. It's a ramble and a chat, and it's all the sweeter for it, maybe. The big thing is absolutely gonna be the VR Garage. But overall, as a product, you know, Nintendo, I think this is pretty much what Labo maybe should have been from the start. Maybe it's sounding a bit cruel, but, you know, I think this really is a big deal, and this is going to be the biggest thing to happen to Labo, and this could be massive. And I know I said that about Labo before, and it never really became it, but I think this has even more potential. And after, you know, getting my hands on it, I'm going to be a happy boy. And now that I think about it, it's going to be pretty soon. The VR Garage is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I guarantee that so many people are going to try this out. You know, children are going to, you know, have a go, and they're going to make their own games. They're going to drop assets in because there's loads of different assets, and they're going to create their own games, and it uses all the nodes and everything, and it's going to encourage them to get into games, like making them. I can't make a game, but I'm probably going to make one in Labo VR, and no one's going to stop me. Big thanks to Nintendo UK for inviting me down. I just only hope that in the long run it proves to be as engaging and it doesn't sort of dwindle like previous Labo did. But I've got much higher hopes now, so fingers crossed, eh? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you have your expectations shattered by clicking that subscribe button, ho-ho! And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.